1, 2, 3.
Fat Five. The Fat Five. The Fat Five. The Fat Five.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's the Kelly Bell Band reaching out to you. Today we got Mr. Eric Robinson right there on the guitar.
What's up?
We got Mr. Ryan Fowler down there on the guitar. And of course, Mr. John Robert Buell on the drums. So look, folks have been writing in and asking us about some of the crazy questions that we have on the road and in our travels or in the green room, and all the hours we spend together, and some of the crazy conversations we talk about and the stories and stuff. And one of the things we wanted to dedicate this particular episode to is our work with the military. So we want to first shout out MWR, Navy Entertainment, and Navy Exchange. Ryan showing off his MWR button right there. Just to be able to say we really appreciate everything that they do for all the troops all around the world, all the military. And we also want to say we appreciate you guys as well for everything that you do. We've been very lucky to be all around the world, about 32 countries in the last 7 years, and working with MWR, Navy Entertainment, and Navy Exchange, just to bring you guys some entertainment. So we thought we'd get into something a little different. What you say, Ryan?
All right, so the question of the day is, what is our top 5 experiences with the military? So that is the question. So we're going to go through some of our favorite moments that we've had with you guys as we have gotten to travel the world and see what you all do.
I got one. I'm going.
All right.
I'm actually going to I had a different one I was thinking of at first, but I'm going to switch it up. Game time decision. And I'm going with the Tiger Cruise. The band has actually done 2, but I've only been lucky enough to go on 1. And mine was the one we did from North Carolina to Norfolk. So that one was cool. 2 reasons. One, it not cool for us, but it got rescheduled like a month because the ship got redeployed like the day before we were supposed to go down there and meet them. So it all got pushed back. So just a prime example of how you never know what's going to happen when you're in the service and your life is not in your control. It's somebody else who tells you when you're going to be and where you're going to be. So definitely appreciate that, and got a little taste of it ourselves, even though I'm sure it was tougher on them than it was on us. So, but that was so awesome to go down there and ride a hovercraft to the ship, and then
That was pretty
get to take a couple-day float up the eastern seaboard and play in a hangar bay where there's usually hovercraft and Ospreys and whatever else parked in there, and meet everybody on the ship and their family.
I have to interject. So they told us that we were going to be on these hovercrafts, and I envisioned this like we're going to get on this thing and the window be in our faces. from land to sea to land in, and it was going to be like a G.I. Joe episode. And man, those hovercrafts, for those of y'all that haven't been in one, imagine being in a wet, leaky, loud shipping container. That's
pretty much it.
So God bless you all, have to be on one of those things all the time.
And hoping that somebody within like 3 people of you on each side doesn't puke while you're riding across the ocean.
It was that bad, huh?
Although
Yeah,
the
man.
cool thing about it though is it smelled
That one was
great.
tough.
Oh yeah, it's no.
Right. And in no way is everything covered in motor oil and axle grease at all.
Hey, I had a misconception about. I thought it was like these seats and really kind of nice, like the G.I. Joe thing you was
I
saying.
mean, there were seats,
more
but they
like
were
a
made out
metal-
of steel.
It's more like a metal bench. That's
Right.
what it was.
Right, exactly.
Oh,
But
Rusty,
that was cool. And
It was awesome though. I'm still sitting here saying I rode a hovercraft.
right,
yeah.
exactly.
It was
That is dope.
it was some Johnny Quest type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
definitely.
shout out USS Baton and that ride we got to take with them. We watched a playoff NFL game on a
Nice.
Navy ship. Like nobody gets to say that every day. So
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
meeting everybody's family and sailing with them too, and all going through it together, seeing how everybody lives and sleeping in a rack, all that stuff.
Can I go next?
Yeah, you're up.
All right, Kelly Bell, what you got?
So I kind of got for one of them because I'm stuck right now because I saw the raising of the flag in Spain, which only happens once a year on that particular base. You can and it happens on July the 4th, and they do a raising of the flag ceremony, and there's all these different branches of the military that are represented, like all of them. And they're all in their different units, and everybody's in their dress uniforms. And it's a real big thing, man. And we were exhausted, and we had been traveling, doing a bunch of different countries on that particular tour for MWR and Navy Entertainment and Navy Exchange. And basically everybody was like, we really want to go, but everybody was exhausted. And I don't know, man. I don't know what it was, but something made me drag myself up and go to this ceremony. And I went there, and it was unbelievable. It was breathtaking. It was one of those days where you're really, really proud to be an American, on a level that you really can't comprehend. And it was the only day that these folks on this particular base, because the base is owned by the country, and we basically kind of lease property. So we're not allowed, according to rule, to fly the American flag there, except for that one day, and I got to be there. So I got to say that's definitely, in my top for military moments for me. One of the other ones that I thought was tied with was basically in Guantanamo Bay, that time that Ryan and I ran from that iguana, and I ran in the house and locked the door on him.
Yeah. All right, so hold on. I got to interject here. We might have like 5.5 stories. So we were staying in these little villas in Guantanamo Bay, which were like the same. They were like little townhouses, and to be honest, they were pretty nice. Like we didn't really know what it was going to be.
Yeah.
They were super nice.
Watch as Ryan gets increasingly angry as he tells the story. All right, go, Ryan.
So anyway, me and Kelly are rooming together. And it's Guantanamo Bay, so they have iguanas, they have banana rats, they have all kinds of stuff we've never seen before. So there's this iguana out in our backyard, and I don't know if you can see. I mean, he was like,
Tiger King here has to, of course, got to go touch every animal he ever sees, like that monkey in Thailand. That was a great.
Right, like so if Joe Exotic lived in Cuba, this would have definitely been one of his iguanas. Right. So Kelly's like, go out there and check him out, man. He looks cool. And I'm thinking like, yeah, my friend had an iguana when we were kids. Iguanas are cool. His name was Yoshi, like in Super Mario. So I go out there and check out this iguana, and I get about 5 feet from him, and he kind of gets up and he bucks at me, like he's ready to go, and he hissed.
Yeah,
they spit at you.
Playing around. I'm surprised you did it. Those things were not playing around.
Oh yeah. So I take this step back, and then I'm getting ready to book it back for the door, and I look back, and Kelly is falling over laughing. He's got the door locked on me. He's falling over laughing. Oh, it was.
That's cool.
I was gone, Jack.
Yeah, you gotta keep your head on the swivel.
Me and Frankie were right next to you.
And I looked out the window laughing at him.
Yeah, me and Frankie were next to you.
All right, Eric, what do you got?
All right, well, I guess I'll go for my first one, which was the Italy one. What was that, 15 or 16? 2015, 16? That was my first trip. And,
that was Kosovo, Italy, Germany? Or just Italy?
Just Italy. We did Sicily, and then we went to Naples.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, my memory was, first off, let me say, because I'm a vet myself, so bottom line, any opportunity.
United States Air Force.
You know it. Aim high, baby. Now, any opportunity to do anything for the troops or any of them, that hits right home for me. Because
hey, we should shout out, since Eric brought that up, our harmonica player who's not online with us today, Dane Paul Russell, United States Navy vet as well.
Yeah, baby.
Right.
And so any chance I get to serve in any capacity is great for me. But it's extra special to be able to do something that I love and do that. Hey, come on now. All right, but we went there. We flew. I remember we flew long flight. You know, from I think we flew.
They all are.
Yeah, and we get off the plane and we dragging ready to go to the hotel. Let's check in and take a shower and chill. And the guy, remember the guy's name was it like Ernesto or Rosario? Remember Rosario? Yeah, we're gonna go on a barbecue. We're gonna him and the MWR rep came and they were real nice and they and he kept saying we're gonna go to barbecue. We're gonna go on a barbecue and we like I'm gonna go back and rest. And I was like, well, you know what? Okay, let's go to the boat ride. And we all were tired, but we all went there and they took us on that wooden boat. Remember, it was like the Jaws boat or something. Italian guy took us out there and threw a Weber grill right in the middle of a wooden boat. But cooked us this amazing meal. And
best meat I ever had.
Oh, man. And the tomatoes, was it caprese salad or what? I'm like a tomato guy, and that stuff was great.
So if I can add to that, so obviously that was one of those things we talk about MWR and Navy Entertainment, and that was one of those things. So when we go on these trips, there's not a lot of free time, but the MWR folks all over in every base we've been to, they always go out of their way to find us a little piece of whatever country we're in so that we have some memories to take home with us in between all the work that we have to do on these tours. And that was one of those things that if it wasn't for the folks at MW and the MWR folks, especially on that particular day, they could have absolutely taken us back to the hotel. We would have gone to sleep and no one would have known anything different. But they insisted that they had this really cool experience that they wanted to share with us. So thank you to MWR for giving some of the experiences for sure.
And the number of times that like somebody on their day off comes and hangs out just because you're doing something and they can be helpful while you're doing that too is.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a picture of Word on that boat. I don't know if he was tired or
that empty cup of chocolate milk he was drinking.
Right. That Italian Gatorade is way different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
all right. Go with,
what you got, Ryan?
All right, so I'm gonna go with mine. So this one is actually I'm gonna go back to the first trip that I did for the military with KBB. I don't know what year this was. I think it was the hey, check it out. There's the speaking of John was talking about his trip. There you go. There's the USS Baton. That's from John's trip right there. I got all my challenge coins
I was
next to
just
me
gonna
here.
say we owe you like 7 Cokes because don't nobody in here also have one of their challenge coins on.
oh man, no.
Yeah.
I got them upstairs. It's inside, but I don't have it on me.
I gotta grab mine too.
Mine's over
Yeah,
there.
that's not the rule.
And I got one that says Air Force One, so I got you all trumped.
Nice.
I
Yeah,
see what you did there.
See what I did?
see what you did there.
All right, so getting back to my story. So I don't have my Stennis challenge coin, but we did a Tiger cruise on the USS John C. Stennis. And I got to be honest, that was a pretty eye-opening and life-changing experience for me. Number one, we had some amazing shows. We did it was a Tiger cruise, and we did 4 shows in the hangar bay, or it might have been 5 shows in the hangar bay over the course of like a 8 or 9 day period at sea. We started in Pearl Harbor, and we went to San Diego. But there was actually, what's kind of cool about these trips is like, the whole of the trip and the shows are always great. But there's always these moments that we get when we meet sailors or airmen or, whoever it is. And we get to share these cool little moments with people. And so we had a little bit of downtime. We were sitting in, I believe it was the officers' mess, which was just empty at this particular time of the day. And we were playing acoustic guitars, and we were writing our record, Should Have Been You, which hadn't come out yet. And we were working on this song that I had. Look at now you're showing off, man. Now you're overcompensating. I mean, I got all of mine here. Oh, there we go.
Here's the Stennis.
Falling apart.
There's the Stennis one.
Oh, there you go. There's the Stennis. All right, so and then there's a you don't got this one though. You don't got a Fidel Castro bottle opener from Radio Gitmo.
Hey, that's contraband. It's contraband.
All right, so anyway, back to my story. So we're in the officers' lounge. Nobody's in there except for this one young sailor, and she was sitting there rolling silverware. She worked in in the mess area on the ship. And so she was, she asked if she could come in while we were sitting there playing, and we were like, this is your space. Do you mind if we sit here and play some music for a little bit? So we're working on this song that I had written another version of called "Don't Go," and we were kind of working out lyrics and stuff. So Kelly and Rasan had kind of rewritten some of the lyrics that I had put down, and so it was a very collaborative kind of song. So we were kind of working on it. And she says to us after we got through it, and we were barely getting through this song, we literally just started messing with it. It was after we get through it, would you guys mind playing that song again? And so she proceeds to tell us about this story about how she had a romantic relationship with one of the other sailors on the ship. And for those of you that have ever been deployed, obviously you know that there are limits to those types of relationships. But they definitely, wanted to spend some time together whenever they were off the ship.
He means no hanky-panky on the ship.
No hanky-panky. So anyway, what had come up, and the reason that the song had touched her so much is because she found out that she was getting assigned to a different ship, and so was he when they got back from this deployment. And so they had two choices to make. Obviously these are long deployments, and so their choices were: do they break it off now and rip it off like a Band-Aid for their relationship, or do they try to press forward with this long distance relationship, which is challenging to say the least. And so this song "Don't Go," I think it really touched her, and so we ended up playing the song that night. And there's a bunch of really cool moments. I'm sure Kelly might share one or two of them with you here in a second. But, one of the things that we noticed immediately with that song, the lyric, "Please Don't Go Away," is that it just really rang true for folks with the military. And it's one of the things that really made me realize the sacrifices. This is a Tiger cruise. So it really made me realize the sacrifices that all of your families have to make and that you have to make to be apart from your family so that you can go out and and be with us, or protect our country. So it's one of those things where that was the beginning of my experiences with the military, and they've gotten more and more positive every time. I think that it's to the point where it's affected what I do in my day job too. All of us when we're not working for Navy Entertainment, all of us do a bunch of charity. There's one in particular called Warrior Music Foundation that we all support. To help folks whenever they get out of the service and stuff like that. So, that was my not as funny as everybody else's stories, but that was just one that really touched me. Was hearing how a song that I wrote with my best friends, related to people that I didn't even write the song for in the first place, but it's become the song that's for all of them. So there you go.
All right, Kelly,
Cool.
we'll
It's
wrap it
crazy
up.
when other people. I was just gonna say, crazy when other people enjoy a song more than us. You're always like, I hope people like it.
Here's the crazy thing about our job. We write music that we love with people that we love for people who love it. It's the greatest job in the world.
Yep.
It truly is. As Ryan was telling his story, because to wrap this up, number 5 is really my number 1. And it's actually a piggyback on Ryan's story. So the story actually started with Ryan and that young lady. Where Ryan left it off is that that particular night she asked us to play "Don't Go." And I just want to quick brag real quick in the story and take a pause. So this is a coin from the USS John C. Stennis. But you'll notice there's a serial number here. This is the honor that we received. I had to get up early and put on a dress white shirt, the only thing I had, and they snuck me through this back way, and next thing I know, coming a couple different floors, and then I found myself in these chambers where all these challenge coins were under glass. I mean, like everywhere, every counter, every table, it was pretty amazing. And then I found myself being escorted back to the captain's office where he presented me with this. And to this day, it's definitely one of my most treasured things for sure. But coming back to that story, so that young lady had, like Ryan had said, she told us what that meant. And when she started that story, she was crying, which everybody just kind of paused, and then she told us that story. Like Ryan said, well, when she asked us to play it, and we couldn't say no, of course, at that point. A little backstory is we're the first band ever to get on the Stennis and do a whole stretch of a Tiger cruise. Usually they'll shoot an act on and off of the ship, and instead we said we would do 6 different shows. One of them was judging a contest. But we would do 6 different shows in that 2-week time, and you wouldn't have to fly anybody back on. We would just get on the ship and just stay with you and do the whole cruise. So they flew us to Pearl Harbor, which was amazing, and then sent us to San Diego. And during that cruise, we got to live there, eat there, do these shows. And that particular night, the young lady asked us to do the show. Well, she was coming with this young man while they were still trying to, figure out whether they were going to love each other for those last 8 days real hard or just get away from each other, or try that long distance thing, So we played the song for her that night. It came out pretty good, considering we'd never played it out before and we weren't really finished writing it. So we had one of the things that we decided when we were going to do those 6 different shows is they were going to be completely different and we weren't going to repeat any songs. We have quite a catalog, so we didn't really need to. But once we played that song, we did a meet and greet every night after the shows in the hangar bay. And now you got to figure a hangar bay is like 3 football fields long. It's filled with literally hundreds of aircraft. So we're there and we're greeting people, and there's a line all the way across the hangar bay just waiting to greet us after the show. And so a lady comes up, and she's, I'll say middle-aged, and she said how much she really appreciated that particular song. And we told her a little bit of the story, and so she then told me her story. Apparently, she was on her way to San Diego, and she was basically just catching a ride with the ship on the way to San Diego to meet her husband, who had been in the service for 37 years. And he and her were going to France to start their lives together as just a couple because he was due to retire. And he was coming off of his last mission. She was meeting him there, and she was she was the wife of an executive officer. So she was a pretty big deal on top of that. So she said, that song, and she had tears in her eyes, and she said, that song really means a lot to me because on my way to Pearl Harbor to the base, I got a phone call from my husband, and he informed me that he was being reassigned and that he would be reassigned and sent back out to sea for another 18 months. And so their retirement plan had completely changed. And now all of a sudden she was, going to be the keep it together at home wife again, like she had been for over 30 something years. So she said, that song means a whole lot to me. So you have to, and excuse me if I start to well up thinking about this, because this was crazy. This whole experience, like Ryan said, was life-changing for me as well. When the lady said to me, you got to play that song again tomorrow, I said, ma'am, I would love to do that for you, but we had decided as a band that we would not repeat any material and we would do 6 different shows. And she said, hold on, honey, I don't think you heard what I said. I said, I'm the wife of an XO on a major battle cruiser, and you're in the middle of the ocean. I said, yes, ma'am. What song exactly did you want us to play again tomorrow night? So we were of course obligated for a whole lot of other reasons now to play that song again. So we did. And I saw her the next night, and she was sitting out in a chair in the hangar bay. And I walked down off the stage, and I went and sat with her and held her hand because she was crying. And I started crying, and we're still singing the song. And everybody turned around, and the band is tearful, and it was a very moving thing. So here we are the same night, and we're the next night, and we're standing in line greeting everyone after that. And she comes up, she gives me a big hug, and she thanks me. Well, a couple minutes after that, a lady comes up, and she's a little, let's say she's elderly. And she explained to me that, well, I'm sorry, I take that back, not elderly. She was probably somewhere between middle-aged and elderly. I don't know what that is, but she was probably in there somewhere.
Melderly.
Right. So she came up and she gave me a hug, and she told me the story about how her son is a sailor on the ship, and their entire lives she'd been trying to get him to dance ever since he was a little kid, to dance with her. That was just so important to her, and he would never do it. And for some reason, we were playing that song. We played Don't Go, and he stood up and reached down and grabbed his mother's hand and pulled her up, and he danced with her for the first time ever. And she cried, and she begged us to play the song the next night. Well, we had said we weren't going to repeat any songs, but of course, at that point, you have to play the song again. And then we realized, too, at that point, we were on something really special with that particular song, too. Because out of all these years, we've never had a song that affected people, and a particular type of people, and I mean military folks and their families on that level before. So then the next, probably about 10 minutes after her, a young man comes up, real strapping dude, got his uniform on, everything. He tells me he's the guy that the mother was talking about. And he said he never realized how important it was to her that they danced together. And so he wanted to do that for her again. And he said he got somebody to cover his shift because he was on watch the next night for our show. But he had somebody cover it, so he was going to surprise her. So I said, okay, we can do better than that. If you're going to really surprise her, I'll find her in the crowd somewhere, and then we'll make a big deal out of it. And he said, what are you going to do? And I just went, trust me, son, I got this part. So he came to the gig. I saw his mom in the crowd. We had her stand up and we talked and everything. And then I said, but what you don't know is your son is here. And she turned around and he popped up like, sailor in a box. And then they all, then he grabbed her and we had him walk her up on stage. And they stood front and center. And Ryan and I took a few steps back, and Word kind of showcased them, and they stood right in the middle. And we did Don't Go, and they danced. And the craziest thing I've ever seen happen, and this is my moment, when I saw other couples start to stand up. And by couples in a Tiger Cruise, you can't bring your significant other to a Tiger Cruise. But you can bring your cousin or your grandmother or your nephew or your aunt or something, So you're watching a grandfather stand up with his granddaughter, and a grandmother stand up with her grandson, and fathers and daughters. And it was crazy. Down front, there was like a bunch of little kids and their big sister and their parents. And over here was 4 generations of sailors, 4 generations, all on the same ship together, 2 of them still in service. And they were all dancing together. And the one thing I'm failing to mention is that you can't dance in uniform, especially on the hangar bay, without permission. So everybody that was doing what they were doing was going to be in trouble because all of their supervisors were lined up against the back. So they saw everything that was going on. But in that point in time, it did not matter to anybody. It didn't matter to anybody except what was in the moment. They were prepared to do their time in the brig or their extra PT or whatever it was that they were going to have to do. They didn't care. I just watched them stand up, and it was overwhelming. And all of us on stage were absolutely weeping and trying to get through this song, and at the same time hoping that it would never end, because it was one of the greatest moments ever on stage. So for me, I would say that's definitely in the top 5, and for me, it's numero uno. So one more time, we just want to say how much we appreciate everything that all of you do all over the world. You do what you do so that we can continue to do what we do. And we appreciate you more than words could possibly say. So right now to Navy Entertainment, MWR, Navy Exchange, I just want you to know, and I know maybe you don't hear it enough, we appreciate what you do for our troops so that they can continue to do what they do as well. We appreciate you. And as a token of, hey, we're just thinking about you and we're thinking about you from home, here's our song, Homegrown, Stand Up. Check out the video. Get us out of here, Eric.
The Fat Five. The Fat Five. The Fat Five. The Fat Five.
So glad to meet you. So warm like a sunshiny day. When we're standing arm in arm, know that we're here to stay. As we lift our voices through our eyes, see better days. But it's for your angelic charms we give thanks and praise. Homegrown, and we're so glad to meet you. See your reflection in us when you see our eyes. Hope the Lord see you with it and the creek don't rise. But we'll wade in the water, man, we gon' rise. Come together like the Beatles, yeah, we hold ties. Affiliates, supporters, fam, and amigos, right? We the people heaven sent, yeah, we on high. Resilience is evident, man, we alright. They tryna put us to bed like we all tired, but you waiting for us to sleep, it's gon' be all night. When it comes to the battle, yeah, we gon' fight. Ain't waiting, it's gon' be on sight. We gon' march your hands in the land where there be no plight. Through darkness and murky waters, there'll be no fright. Found hope like the youngest found Nemo, right? And we can cope, cause we our own heroes, right? We homegrown. Homegrown. And we're so glad to meet you. I'm so glad to meet you, yeah, yeah.
it's gonna take time. But now you're on my mind. We're gonna make you see just how strong that we can be. Homegrown. And we're so glad to meet you. We're so glad to meet you.